Hello, friends. Hello, world. Friends that I know, friends that I haven't met yet. Maybe you're watching this because somebody shared it with you, but I welcome you into my home. I welcome you into my heart. And I look forward to sharing space with you, both in this moment in time and in moment in times going forward. This is my first time outside my own containers, if you will, in quite some time. I haven't posted any public video in at least 3 months, and probably, quite frankly, a lot longer than that. I've reserved the energy that I've had based on some situations in my life to just doing the work inside my own group and individual containers for now. My expectation is that I will be doing this sort of thing, though, with higher frequency. And when I say higher frequency, I mean both repeating it more often, and I mean in a higher frequency also, as I continue to feel my vibration rise as a result of a number of choices that I'm making in my life, and as a result of the need to just be in service, of service to whomever. For those of you who are close to me, you already know that I've had some things happen for me in the last 90 days. For those of you who are a little bit less familiar with me, those things that have happened for me have been a bit of a head trauma at the end of January, which required a decent amount of recovery time and some post-concussion situations to deal with. And then a COVID case that was moderate to high symptomatic. Never felt like I was at risk for my life. Always knew that I would emerge. My family, who also had COVID, would emerge. But was exceedingly uncomfortable and had lingering effects for more than a number of weeks. But I'm not here to ask anybody to hold vigil for me. I'm not here to either feel sorry for myself or ask you to give me permission to feel sorry for myself. I'm just here to share. I'm just here to connect and share story. And I think it's important that we share story in general in life. But in particular, it's important to share a story when it can be used as an opportunity to connect, when it can be used as an opportunity for both of us to grow or all of us to grow. And then the time to not share a story is when you are looking for what I just mentioned: permission to feel sorry for yourself, affirmation that you should be miserable, because that is not the case. I'm actually delirious in many ways, not from the 105-degree fever anymore, but just delirious with opportunity, if you will, in life. You know, my trauma that I've experienced both in the last 90 days and my trauma level in general in life, it's small t. I don't have a lot of capital T trauma in my life. I'm blessed. I know many people that I work with, people that are friends of mine, people that I'm connected to. And then as I look out in the matrix of the universe, to look at the trauma that people have to deal with, it weighs heavy on my heart. But when I'm working in my own world and I'm working in my own field, if you will, I'm always thinking. I'm thinking about what's going on in my life, why it's happening for me. Maybe you noticed a couple of times now I said for me, not to me. And I think it's important that we identify that all situations, no matter how much we don't prefer them, that are opportunities for self-reflection, opportunities for development, for growth, even when the flavor and the taste of them is unpleasant. So the situations that I've experienced in my life in the recent past, they've given me opportunity for great reflection. That is the gift, if you will. There are also challenges, though. And one of the challenges that I was dealing with this morning was the challenges with insurance. And I know many of you have dealt with this in many ways, both probably in the recent past and throughout the years, if you will. And you know, my situation, it's not important that I tell a lot of the details of that story, but just enough to give a flavor of it is that, you know, there are many bills that have come in as a result of mostly my hospital visit and an ambulance trip to the hospital for my head trauma, and some of the lunacies of how these dots connect. And I was speaking to a person at the insurance company that represents me, and I'm not going to mention names because it's not important. And I was trying to get information as to why my portion of this bill was so high, and determine whether or not the $1,700 that was reduced was actually an insurance payment, or it was sort of a mandatory reduction based on the agreed to cost. And what I found out was, and I kind of knew this from looking at the bill, is that none of my portion was going to be covered because it happened early in the calendar year and I hadn't had too many out-of-pocket medical expenses. So the representative at this company said, well, sir, it happened too early in the year, so you didn't have any coverage from us. If you had had more medical expenses or it happened later in the year, then you might have made more payments towards your deductible and the billing would have been less. So I was left with like about $2,000 out of pocket for this ambulance ride of 15 minutes. And so I said to this representative of this company, and this is sort of where the lunacy apex is, and then I'm going to end this portion of the story. I said, so just to be 100% clear, as a representative of this particular company that we're speaking about, you're telling me that I did not do a good job of getting injured in the correct month, and that I would have been doing a better job if I'd actually had my slip and fall on the ice, cracked my head open, went to the ambulance unconscious in a hospital where I could have potentially died if it was in December instead of January. She's like, yes, sir. And I just had to pause for a second. And I was like, did you just let me clarify this? So you're actually telling me that I didn't get injured in the right time of year for coverage? She goes, yes, sir. So I kind of retraced that and talked that over with her a little bit in a very polite way. And I'm not going to go any further with that. But as I walked away from it, I couldn't help but think, and after I talked to the City of Chicago ambulance services also, and we all know this, I just thought about the lunacy of the whole situation. And I thought, well, let's look at and I talk about this with some frequency with my friend circles. Let's talk about the model of the Western healthcare system. And that's really the predominant focus of this conversation for me today in the story that I'm sharing. Let's talk about this model and the way it works right now. And what if we were to take that model and lay it out as a template over a new business idea, just to see how it might work? And as many of you know, I'm in the hospitality industry for much of my life. I am focused almost 100% now on the work that I do here with individuals and groups in terms of living a more mindful life, finding the experience of life in the present moment, using tools that we can use to create more contentment in the chaos and turbulence of our everyday lives. Neither of which things are bad, either chaos or turbulence. They're there. We're not going to control that, right? What we need to do is learn how to manage our internal circumstances to be able to allow that to happen around us while we're still grounded in our own field in some ways. But I thought, well, what if I did open my own restaurant? And that's something I've been asked many, many times through the years. People have said to me, Jimmy, why don't you open your own restaurant? Like, you're so good. You love food. You're great with people. You run the door at one of the top places in Chicago for years. This is perfect for you. And I know that I've never really wanted to be in that aspect of the business, if you will. Well, let's just say I changed my mind. And let's just say I went to the bank, or I was talking over with some investors, and I said, so here's my idea. Okay, here's my idea. As opposed to doing a traditional restaurant, what I think we'll do is we'll take this, we're going to create a situation where people pay a fee up front. Okay, so they have to pay a monthly fee for the course of a year. Let's just say that fee is $300. So they're going to pay me $3,600 per year. And for that, they get the right to enter the restaurant. Okay, so each time they come in, though, there will be a payment up front, a copay, if you will, just to get in the door on that particular day. And let's just say that's $50 maybe. So they've paid me their $300 a month for the whole year, which is sort of a premium, if you will. And then each time they arrive, they pay me $50 to get in through the door, at which point then they now have the right to order something. Okay. And, they figure out what they want to have on that particular day. And then at the end, I give them a bill. And it's a very high bill because I have to overcharge, in the market that I'm in. And then you just go ahead and you pay that, even though you're not super comfortable with that, because you haven't met your minimum expenditures for the year at my restaurant, even though you've paid a premium to have the right to enter the restaurant, and you pay a fee each time you come and show up. So after you've come about 5 or 6 times and you've spent the appropriate amount of money of your own, then there's this third-party billing service that actually helps me collect the money for the advance payment that people pay for the right to come into the restaurant, just to be sort of club members, if you will. And then after that period, once you've made your minimum required expenses at my restaurant, then what I'll do going forward from that point is I will send a bill to the third-party billing company, and I'll charge them even more than I charged you. And the reason I'm going to do that is because they're going to try to negotiate with me and bring the price of the meal down. And so we already know that's going to happen. So we just play this game where I overcharge them and they say they're going to pay this, and then we meet somewhere in the middle. And then they pay me that amount in the middle as the restaurant owner. But after that, then I send you a bill and I say, well, this is the part that the third party didn't pay, and I need you to pay me that now. And if you don't pay me that now, or within the next 90 days or start making payments, I'm going to send you to a collection agency to pay the amount that you didn't pay, even though you've already paid me a fee of $300 a month for the whole year just for the right to get in. And you paid me $50 every time you show up at the door just to get a seat. And then you're overpaying for your food and your drink. So how do you think my restaurant's going to do? Is it going to be a smashing success? Is that a business model that seems like it's going to work to change an industry going forward where people are going to do something like that? See, I'm thinking no. I'm thinking that if someone were to look at that sort of business model and that template laid out over me opening up my own restaurant with investors, like there's not a lot of people who are going to give me money because they'd say that business model is whack, Jim. What are you thinking? But you see, it sounds like a pretty familiar business model, doesn't it? It sounds exactly like the way our Western healthcare system works at every level, with insurance companies, big pharmacies, big pharmaceutical companies, doctors. And I'm not even here complaining. I'm just sharing a story because I think it's really important, at least for me, and I encourage you to feel the same way about this, is to just accept that things are broken. Like so many aspects of the world that we're living in right now are broken, seemingly beyond repair. But you see, they're not broken beyond repair. They're broken because they were structurally unsound when they were founded, because they didn't serve the needs of the masses. They serve the needs of the few, right? So there would be some people that would pay that high fee to come to my restaurant, but I wouldn't be able to stay in business because there wouldn't be enough of them in all probability. And so I could serve just those people, or I could serve everybody. So this is my contemplation for the day. I don't have a solution. I'm not here to say like, this is what we need to do to fix this broken system or other broken systems that we have throughout humanity. But what I'm here to recognize is that humanity is shifting. Like things are changing. You hear this word, the shift, so much right now. And it's just, to me, it's sort of a collective calling for like enough already, regardless of what you believe. This is not tied to any spiritual tradition, any political party, anything at all. It's just a need for change and a need for all of us to create change from within, because this is where it starts, right? This is what I'm doing. I don't have any idea how I'm going to fix my financial situation. Like in the next 6 months, I don't know what's going to happen with my insurance situation in the next 60 days, honestly. But I do know that I get to control my internal circumstances. So after those conversations today, I went out and I just sort of put my to-do list on hold and I went for a ride in nature. And it was windy, blustery, and I took my bike and I rode into the wind. And I'm in a big city, and I could have carried the energy of the conversations with the City of Chicago Fire Department and the unnamed insurance company forward with me into the rest of my experience of the day, or I could be in nature where it was at. I could meet the blade of grass where it was at. I could meet the wind in my face where it was at. Unfortunately, at this stage in my life, I'm starting to learn to understand that like my internal frequency is my reality, and my oneness with nature, my oneness with divine nature, my oneness with self is the way that all broken systems get fixed, both my internal systems and any of the systems that we share as humans. So that's it. That's my reflection for today. I hope to show up here on and off with more videos that I can share with the masses. If you want to know more from me, please reach out and contact me. Please comment on this, like this, share it with friends. I appreciate you listening. My love to all of you. Take care.